All right, joined in studio right now by our very own Gary Fife from the Creek Nation Communications Department here. And Gary, for all of you out there that don't know, that distinct voice that just flows melodically over your airwaves every Wednesday. He is the host of the Creek Nation radio program. And Gary, a lot of changes going on at the Creek Nation radio program, and that's why I wanted to bring you on to let everybody out there know that it's got some new things going on, and definitely a little bit about your background there too. So,
well, the biggest thing that people will know is every third Wednesday of the month, for the next couple of months, we will be expanding the program to a full hour instead of the half hour. This is an effort to increase the service to our citizens and listeners, to, make the public more aware of the Creek Nation and the programs and people who are involved. We'll be adding some special features, including a call-in segment.
very good.
We hope to have the principal chief, speaker of the council, other different people on there for a full hour to take questions from callers. I don't believe it's been done before with the Muskogee radio, but it's an excellent way for officials and leaders and cultural folks to communicate with people firsthand and one-on-one questions.
And it's something that I was listening in your recent interview on the radio program with the principal chief. He's excited about it. All of you all seem to be invigorated by the thought of citizens calling in with questions, and you straight from the cow's mouth, and really that's sort of things that you've probably done in the past, that you're bringing that experience in what makes a radio show really tick to the Creek Nation, and talk a little bit about that, about what you've done in the past.
Well, first of all, the call-in show is an excellent use of the medium. We always spoken of the spoken word, the oral tradition. This brings it right down to the most basic level. So we're proud that we're able to do that. As you said, the chief is excited, and I have to give him credit for taking this on, because sometimes some of those questions can really be tough.
Right.
But the fact that he will be answering them directly, I think, is a wonderful step in the right direction. People will be more interested in their government,
right,
and be able to express their views and feelings. Now, this comes out of a career in radio and TV. I actually did some of what you're doing there with the CBS affiliate in Anchorage. But primarily, I was the first producer and host of National Native News in Anchorage, Alaska. Carried over the National Public Radio satellite system. Proud to say that show's still around with a different voice, but after 20 years. And that's kind of a record, I think, for darn near any Native project. They tend to have a very short life, depending on funding and popularity and things like that. But in the process there, we spoke with many people. They had me in many roles besides just the newscaster, and one of them was the host of call-in programming. And so we would pick a subject that would be of interest to the community, or perhaps at the local public radio station, we'd be speaking with the mayor or the chief of police and the governor on occasions. We'd have them right in studio. And it was my job to keep the questions flowing, to keep a handle on things. If somebody started to get out of hand or the language started to get a little rough, we'd have to cut them off there and try and keep folks respectful of our guests and the office they held, and the fact that they were making time from their schedules to come speak with us.
Right.
So that's kind of where that comes from. But the rest of the part was as the voice of National Native News, and that was kind of a funny, unusual experience in many cases. I think one guy called in from North Dakota once and called me the Indian Dan Rather. And my apologies to Mr. Rather there.
We'll keep calling you that around here.
Yeah, but I think the funniest one was somebody wrote in and said, "Gosh, you sound like a white guy."
Yeah.
Because you get that radio voice going on, and it kind of takes you away from the Oklahoma accent.
Right.
Now you got that vehicle coming down the road, kind of thing.
I knew it was buried in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, it comes
a statement like.
Yeah, my wife says it comes out very quickly when I'm around Oklahoma.
Great.
But that was one of the skills you learned as a radio host and announcer was presentation,
Yeah.
and it is, as you know, a performance
Yes.
that you have to engage in. And many journalists would say horror is your performing, but
Yeah.
but you've got to be interesting also.
Right, exactly.
And that's the key to successful programming.
Well, you know, in National Native News, you got to deal with a wide range, and sort of now you're shrinking the information and the news vacuum, really, of what you're doing with the Muskogee Nation radio program. But at the same time, you're a citizen of the Muskogee Creek Nation, so it's got to be for you means that much more to be now at the same type of position covering your own people.
Yes, it's nice to be able to bring my skills and experience back home for my own people.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be an asset for the Muskogee Nation. And if my being on the road for all those years and picking up this and that and learning how to do so many other things is useful when I come back here, then I'm just delighted.
There you go.
And I've had a little bit of feedback. People, have listened to the program and say, "Oh yeah, I know that guy. He's my second cousin," or something like that.
Who's the white guy hosting the Creek Nation radio program?
Is that Mr. Rather there? But,
Yeah.
but it's kind of fun to be able to go back to that medium again,
Yeah.
and teach people if they're interested, but mostly share the information that we have to share.
Yeah.
And that's critical in keeping our citizens informed and making us a progressive nation, I think.
You got it. We want to actually take a look back. First time here on Native News Today, we had spoke with you earlier about the work you did with the CBS affiliate there in Alaska, Inside Alaska. It was the program specifically you worked on. You got a chance to really file a lot of great stories in your time there. Had a lot of good times. And we've looked at them here, just looking back on them. And as sort of an homage today to your past work, we're going to show a story here coming up. But you were covering the Eskimo Olympics, or up there they call it something else, but basically, if you want to just the layman's terms, it was the Eskimo Olympic Games. And talk a little bit about that story, Gary, here before we roll it, and really want to thank you for letting us do that.
Okay. It's the World Eskimo Indian Olympics. Now, in Alaska, there are, of course, the people known as Eskimos, and there are actually two types. But there are also the Athabascans, who are very much Indian, like you and I.
Exactly.
Even racially. So what we have there is an athletic competition that incorporated a lot of the traditional skills that are still in use and have a long history with the people there. And I think Alaska Native people are some of the folks who live closest to the earth among all the Native people here in the United States. Very much dependent on subsistence hunting and fishing, and a way of life there that is connected exactly, very closely rather, to Mother Earth and survival. So the Olympics are using those skills as a basis in an athletic competition. So you have sports like a 1-foot high kick, or what they call a knuckle hop, or skinning seals rather, and cutting fish.
Stuff that you're not going to see at the Olympic Games.
You got it. I mean, yeah, but they do get gold medals.
Right,
for them.
exactly.
But these things are tied so closely to their way of life. And there's one sport where it's called a 2-foot high kick, which is when the hunters return from a whale hunt, they can signal to the village from some distance. They'll kick both feet up in the air and tell the villagers that they've been successful. And that way the village can be prepared to come out and help with the harvest of this whale. Like a foot of whale is equal to about a ton.
There you go.
So if you're going to get it up on the ice, you're going to need everyone hauling on a big, huge block of tackle to get it on the ice. So in that way they can signal the village that, yay, let's celebrate, we have meat for the winter, but we also need your participation in the harvest. Other games were like teaching people to jump from block to block on ice floes. Because if you slip and fall in the water there, it's all over with. But so they learn to do that, and other little things that test the endurance and strength and stamina, like they call it the 4-man carry, kind of an iron cross thing where you're spread eagle, and you hold that position, they pick you up and carry you as far as you can hold on. And that's an endurance kind of thing, which is real important when you get out on the ice.
What I like about it is it's not only just some people might look at it on the surface, and at first they're going to go, oh, that's a quirky event. That's kind of weird that they're doing that. But there's always an ability afterwards to teach a story about that culture of people. I think it's fabulous and fascinating as well.
It's not all competition either. You can see the different athletes encouraging each other and recognizing a wonderful performance or things like that. So it's so much more.
Much in the same, almost parallel as at a big powwow.
You got it.
One fancy dancer sees another one. They might be in competition, but he says, hey, that guy can get it done.
Exactly.
Great. Well, Gary, like I said, thanks for being with us in studio today, talking a little bit about the radio program, and thanks for sharing this story that we're going to show now, and we hope to hear a lot more from you in the future.
Oh, I'll be around, and I think there are a few more of those stories.
You're just a couple steps away from my desk, so you can't run and hide.
Okay, you know where to find me. Great.
It's not just a game. It's not just something that we come to do once a year. It's something that we live for.
It's one of the most well-known athletic events in the state, the annual World Eskimo Indian Olympics. The 4-day event has become the modern-day link to games that taught and tested survival skills for Alaska's native peoples. Today, these indigenous games draw native athletes from across the state to Fairbanks' Big Dipper Arena to find out who's the best. Each evening's opening ceremonies begin with traditional song, drums, and its own kind of royalty. Just as with hunting and survival, these games test the strength, agility, and endurance of the athletes beyond normal limits. Big Bob Aiken is something of a legend in these contests. He's dominated the contests of strength in the past years he's competed.
These games bring out the best in you. And if you're aware of your own body, your ability, your agility, when you're aware of those senses, they train us up so that we will know our senses. We will know our body. These games bring out the best in us.
Dillingham's Selene Anguson, one of the game's outstanding competitors, says the games are not about beating a rival.
The beauty of it is it's not necessarily competition against other players. It's not who can beat who. It's like Big Bob said, it's something that we do for ourselves.
And for Barrow's Charles Brower, the games are a continuation of culture.
I think it's the traditional way of expressing our cultural way of life. This is what the elders and the folks a long time ago did, and it's from generation to generation.
As with other World Olympics, preliminary contests decide who will compete later for the gold medals. On this day, the toe kick contest was held. It originally tested athletes' ability to keep their balance while out on ice floes. And the kneel jump also commanded attention. This event originated as hunters traversed treacherous ice. In modern days, one of the game's glamour events is the 2-foot high kick. This was a visual signal from a messenger when successful whalers wanted to tell waiting villagers of their success. We're here at the World Eskimo Indian Olympics in Fairbanks. We've just witnessed the preliminaries of the 2-foot high kick. This is an extremely tough test of strength, endurance, and ability for the participants. Now imagine taking both of your feet and kicking them above your head to this height. Longtime WEIO champion Brian Randazzo of Anchorage was one of the more dominant competitors, easily kicking heights of over 7 feet. During the day, the crowd was small, but the drama was large. And when one misses, competitors are likely to offer handshakes and support. But not all events are for the younger of body. Some, like the seal skinning contest, are usually won by the more experienced hands, like Point Hope's Claudia Tesroiluk. She skinned her seal in 1 minute 41 seconds, beating some men and younger competitors. But that wasn't the only place for speedy Ulu work. Barrow whaler Charles Brower, a relative newcomer to this event, credits his whetted steel for winning the fish cutting contest.
Well, you got to have a sharp willow. and that's got nowhere to make the joint cuts. And
Remember, you guys, to buy
it's got to be fast and clean.
Besides athletics, musicians performing music from the highlands of Central and South America lent their skills to the afternoon. The World Indian Eskimo Olympics give native athletes a positive direction, some healthy competition, chances to visit with colleagues from across Alaska, and as Selene Agason puts it, an increasingly popular way to express their pride in themselves and to preserve their culture.
People really don't realize that because these games aren't just games, they're the culture, they're our past, they're our history. It's history that we need to keep alive.
In Fairbanks for Inside Alaska, I'm Gary Fife.
Well,